think it's good, right? All right, so my name is Quentin Ford. I'm the founder of K&W Agency, and we're building a smarter, more connected startup community here in Silicon Beach. And basically, what we're doing is throwing panel events like this on a weekly basis. So we do everything from career-related to social media, fashion, and startups. We'll talk a lot about startups too. One of my favorite events that we do actually weekly is our growth hacking event. And we just had a really awesome growth hacking event last week, which Erica came to. Hopefully she can be a good testimonial for that one, right?
Read my Yelp review. No.
Yeah, right. So if you guys are interested in that, it's really fun. We have a lot of great people come out and share some really cool techniques for growing your business quickly and typically with very little money to spend. One thing I do want to do is give a quick shout out to Control Collective for allowing us to use their space here tonight. If you guys are not familiar, this is a co-working space. You can rent offices, private desks, or just come in and use the facilities on a monthly subscription. They have nights and weekends. I personally work here, and it's awesome. I've made so many great connections here. I'd highly recommend coming here and working if you're looking for an office space or just somewhere to work. Also would like to give a big shout out to Fisherman Labs. This is a company located up here. They do app development, VR, and marketing. We've got Abraham over here from Fisherman Labs representing, Angel back here. Put your hand up, man. What's up? And they're helping us build out these events. So super happy to have them on board. So the housekeeping is done. Let's go ahead and get these panelists introduced. The way I like to do it is actually have you guys introduce yourselves. So let's go ahead and start with you, Giselle. If you could just kind of tell us a little bit about your background and start off by maybe mentioning something unique about yourself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Throw that in there.
Wow, so start with my background?
Yeah.
All right, so currently right now I work for Forever 21 as a senior social media coordinator. I take care of their Instagram and their Snapchat. I come from a marketing background. I hated sales, but I loved fashion, so I ended up in social media. Something unique about me. Giselle's actually my middle name, and I'm named after my mom, Nancy, but so I still go by my middle name because I don't want to confuse her.
Right on. Matt.
Hi.
What's going on, dude?
Not much. My turn?
It's your turn. Maybe fill us in your background and then also mention something unique about yourself.
Cool. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon. I went to school for product design, and like many people, did not go into the field that they studied in school. I moved to LA and started working at a startup, and I worked there for 3 years and helped build a brand from a marketing perspective and a social media perspective, helped build their presence from the ground up. And now I currently work at an advertising agency called 72 and Sunny, which is right across the street. I have a really interesting role there. I'm a integrated social media producer. So it is a bit more of a planning role, but I have my hands on all of the social media aspects of our team. And then I'm also an Instagrammer on the side. So I've done some influencer work. I built my own following and curated a feed of colorful, artistic photos.
I have to say, Matt has a really sick Instagram. You guys should go follow him right now. Just throwing him out there.
It's Matt Brooks, Matt spelled with an E. So follow me, follow back. And then interesting fact about me, I love neon lights. So walking into this building was awesome because it's full of neon, and I've actually designed and made my own neon.
Right on.
Wow.
Yeah.
You should be Tyler, the resident artist.
Yeah, can I get my work in here?
Maybe. We'll see.
Hi,
Okay,
hi, I'm Erica Burke-Stadigman. I think like the other panelists, there was this is such a new and emerging field that when I was in school, I didn't set out to work in social media. It did not exist. I started making content for the internet back in 2007. I started my own YouTube channel long before there were multi-channel networks and somebody to kind of guide you and monetize it. But Through that, for a period of time, I had my own web series and landed an agent, and that opened other doors to me to actually end up writing for a pop music website. And through there, and just the daily process of learning SEO and doing content and evolving and growing that site, I realized that what was more interesting to me and what seemed to have more flexibility, what seemed to be evolving at a much rapid rate, was social. So I got into that about going on almost 5 years ago. Most recently, I worked at a company called Participant Media, doing film marketing and also helping to do content marketing for their owned and operated news site. And now I am consulting. And let's see, interesting fact about me. Number one, right now for the entire month of January, I've actually been off social media with the exception of doing social with my clients. I'm on like a detox. Ask me anything about it, I will gladly tell you. And you might notice that I like get a little stiff up here. I have a really bad neck injury because I'm on a dance squad here in LA. So that's it.
All right. Right on. Cool. Well, let's hop right into it. Giselle, wanted to start with you actually.
Okay.
So I was curious, what social media platforms are the best for you and your objectives right now at Forever 21?
I mean, currently I use Instagram and Snapchat. I think they kind of go hand in hand now because of Insta Story, but they both do great. I think from a brand aesthetic feel and branding, Instagram is exactly what it's supposed to do. You know, everything that I do for Forever 21 on Instagram is about just kind of making it look nice and appealing to new customers and just showing that our brand is more than just, hey, this is a cute shirt. You know, as far as Snapchat, I feel like you get to see more personality of our brand, and that's another branding thing that we have going on. But I love them both, and I would say that they matter the most to the people up at Forever 21 because they can have 1,000 to who knows how many products they have at this point, but it doesn't matter unless you identify with the girl, you know.
So can you give us any insights into like what the younger generation is looking for when engaging with social media content?
They just want like evergreen content. They want to feel like it's not forced. You know, we could make these really cool pictures with models and things like that, but they don't gravitate towards that. They're gravitating towards a blogger or another 16-year-old that's wearing that top or that skirt and how they style it. They don't want to see fashion runways and things like that. That's what our kind of strength is in that sense. But yeah, we do groups with younger girls and things like that. And we ask them like, oh, what do you like about this model? And they're like, oh, we're not interested in that. We want to see like, they'll throw out some like YouTube star. And then where they're like, oh yeah, because they said Forever 21 athletic wear was like so cool. So now I'm gonna go buy athletic wear, you know, versus like a styling really pretty model and things like that. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what platforms are you currently using yourself every day?
Me, Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing about me is I actually started as an influencer too. Just to showcase kind of my style, my personality, and just kind of be witty in that sense without doing it for another company. That way it was kind of my portfolio. And then I just kind of got inspired by all other bloggers and fashion bloggers and seeing what they do and like how they talk. And, you know, I feel like you get to see people's personality the best on there.
Right on. Cool. Just so you guys know, if you have any questions, like while we're talking, feel free to just raise your hand. I'll come over and you guys can ask right away. I like to keep the conversation open, so that's kind of how we work here. All right, let's move on to Matt real quick. So on the phone, when I spoke to you, you mentioned that.
Q, I have a question. So I can answer.
Yeah, sure.
So Giselle, what is the target audience?
So what is the target audience for Forever 21? What age group?
It's pretty broad. It's really around 16 to 30. We kind of want to be a place for a family. So we want to be able to have, your daughter come in, get 2 clothes. We want the mom to come in and feel like she can still shop there. And then the husband can shop in our men's section, and then we have plus size too. So it's kind of broad, but it's still young and fun.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, Matt, you're up.
Cool.
So I was saying, when we spoke on the phone, you told me that you kind of gained awareness to your Instagram account because you were featured.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure what you were mentioning there.
Yeah, so I don't know if Instagram still does it this way, but back in the day, they would have this suggested user section where you could look for people to follow. So I got featured there 3 times, and each time I was on it for 2 weeks, and then each day I was getting thousands of followers a day, which kind of like came out of nowhere. That's not like the normal way to grow a following. It wasn't like slow and gradual. It was just like overnight kind of Insta fame, which was super cool, but also like shocking. So yeah, that's how that happened. It was awesome.
Right on. So can you tell us a little bit more about like your posting style? Because if you guys can see, Matt's picture up there, if you look at his feed, he's got a lot of cool pictures like that. Maybe give us a little insight in like what you're trying to accomplish with your feed.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always just gravitated towards art and design, and I love to go to galleries and museums and just find like beautiful artwork around wherever I'm at. So I just started capturing those types of images, and then being a bit more intentional with those too, like going to exhibits where I had previews of the artwork and like coordinating with the colors or the patterns, and just trying to like put myself into the artwork and elevate it in its own way and through my lens. So yeah, just trying to be creative with the artwork that people are already making. So it's kind of unfair because I'm using other people's artwork as my backdrop. So I mean, just trying to have more fun with it and do my own thing with it.
Right on. And so you had mentioned that you use a couple tools. You want to shed some light on what some of those tools that you're using make your pictures look cool?
Yeah, I'll give away my secrets.
Please
so
do.
it's accessible for everyone. Visco is one of the staples in editing photos. But my favorite right now is Color Story. You can do a lot more with the editing and the levels of the lights. And then another good one is Retouch. It's like basic Photoshop for your phone. You can literally delete people and things and cars and trees and gum from the sidewalk really easily without having to open up Photoshop.
Nice.
And then Screw It is another one for adjusting the perspective of photos. So if you want like a perfect grid for like architectural photos, that's a really good app.
That's awesome.
It's spelled SKRWT. It's spelled weird, no vowels or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Definitely gonna check those out. Erica.
Yes.
Yes. So, well, I was going to ask you to talk a little bit more about your no social media situation.
Okay.
But I actually kind of want to move on to your experience at Participant Media,
Mhm.
and maybe just kind of let us know what you were trying to achieve specifically for them.
Well, I was responsible for 2 totally different departments. And so my objectives were different depending on those departments. So on the film marketing side, my goals were to amplify or grow from scratch the film pages and audiences on Facebook for our up and coming films. A lot of times these were documentaries that had almost no budget, super, super small, and trying to do what I could to build and bolster those as we led to a release date. And on the other side, on the content marketing side, we had these legacy films that some of you may have heard of them, like Food Inc., An Inconvenient Truth, Waiting for Superman, and these had upwards of 2 million followers. And how do you keep people from a film that's been out for maybe 8 or 9 years engaged, continuing to take the conversation of the social issue that was in these really important films, keep it relevant, and then leverage that audience for your own content needs, for either partnerships, for up and coming films, or for the content that was going on those sites, and then for our larger tentpole marketing campaigns. So everything was really social action focused. So I can tell you just about anything that's going wrong in the world right now with great detail.
Awesome. What about the makeup blogger? Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing there?
Oh, sure. One of my clients right now is themakeupblogger.com. This site what's interesting about this is sometimes you have a brand or a website that you are part of from the beginning, you're part of the voice, you're part of the evolving of that voice. And then sometimes in this particular situation, you come in when somebody has maybe taken over and is rebranding. I've actually had this happen back when I was at Spin Media. I came onto a website called Idolater. They decided that they were going to take it from Gawker, totally rebrand the site, and then what happens? Everybody who was that small dedicated following comes in every day and says, we hate you, we hate what you're doing with this, you're ruining it. You lose people, but then the new people come. And it's a really delicate balance, and you kind of have to have a thick skin because they're not really talking to you, they're talking to this entity. And here's another example where this is a website that had been around, it's now under new ownership, they're trying to leverage an audience of almost 500,000 people on Facebook. How do you start to shift and delicately let the page evolve to what it's going to become without losing people, but attracting the new reader who is exactly who you're speaking to? So that's where I come in. I'm running their Facebook and Twitter and also doing some content for the site.
Awesome. You got to tell us a little bit about your parents on Facebook situation.
Oh, okay. 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 So, one of my many past lives. So back in 2009, this is almost exactly. Wait, what would that make it? Is that 8 years ago? Is that okay? So almost exactly 8 years ago. So right around this time, I'm sure you guys remember, it was a big deal that Facebook started letting anybody without a college email address join Facebook. Mm-hmm. So that opened the floodgates to parents. Mm-hmm. And what started happening as parents took this platform is that they had no idea what am I allowed to curse? I just won't. What the heck they were doing. And I happened to be at a coffee shop one day. This is also in like the early stages of Tumblr. I was like very invested, the way that, I kind of adapted to Instagram back in like the 08 Tumblr was like my time. Friend and I were at a coffee shop, and she was like, oh my God, I just got a friend request from my uncle, and I thought that was really funny. And I was like, she's like, he's posting all this weird stuff. I don't know what to do. And I said, I bet if we go home right now and we start a Tumblr called like, oh crap, my parents joined Facebook, and we asked people to send us their submissions, I bet they would do it. And so we went home that day and we did it, not realizing that we were setting ourselves up for like an SEO dream, because when you started Googling parents join Facebook, we were like the first thing to come up. And so what started happening was unintentionally, and I encourage anybody, and this has been something I think has been a through line through my life and career, is like, sometimes it doesn't bear fruit and tends to waste time, but sometimes if you just like follow that like really dumb idea, you just never know what's gonna happen, and it doesn't necessarily have to lead to like money, but it's a good thing to just try because there are no stakes. And so for a period of time, we went like viral. We were getting calls from every single news outlet. Like I think we gotta mention like Time Magazine, like all these radio shows will call us and be like, what's the etiquette? Like tell us how to tell parents, and it just became the thing. We became the experts for like in 2009. If you wanted to know how parents should talk on Facebook, you called my friend Jean and I, and we like talk on your radio show. So yeah.
I love that story.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to other topics? Yeah.
How do you guys see like the live components of like Facebook Live and or Instagram Live being incorporated like into social media? Like, how do you see yourself using it, or influencers and brands?
So I think it's awesome because moment-based content is where social media is going these days. Like live content in the moment stuff is what people love to see. It's super entertaining. I remember being in a meeting when BuzzFeed was doing one, and they were seeing how many rubber bands can you fit around a watermelon before it explodes. And it's just crazy how something so simple but so entertaining just like catches on, and like everyone in the room was watching it. And I mean it's BuzzFeed. It's awesome for them because now like they set this precedent for something so simple getting so many eyeballs. So I definitely think it's like a huge opportunity for brands to get more involved and do just like fun stuff. Social should be fun, should be entertaining. So there's a big playground now that live is there.
Oh, so Instagram Live, I've only done it. I haven't done Facebook Live, but it actually works really well for Forever 21, just because every move we make on Instagram is curated beautifully. And this kind of gets you, or gives you an opportunity to see like the raw actual things that happen. So we typically do it behind the scenes for like shoots that come in like a week or something like that. And then when we post the nicely made pictures of the models, people will be like, oh my God, I saw this being done live. So it kind of makes like a customer relationship like way more interesting.
So I can speak to both sides, which is the rough around the edges allure of a live stream, and also the option to do a super highly produced one that can come with Facebook Live. I think to Giselle's point earlier about, at least specifically for her, that the young audience is kind of gravitating towards, they want something authentic, all right? So the idea that you are giving somebody something that looks like, that doesn't look super highly produced is an inside peek. It feels very real, and that's what they're responding to. They don't want the glossy model. Show me what I will look like in these posts. Make it feel real to me. And nothing feels more real than ephemeral content. That's what it's set up to do. On the flip side, you've got Facebook Live, which you can have, a third party. Last year when we had the 10th anniversary of the Opinion Truth, we did a whole huge setup with Al Gore and Davis Guggenheim, and we had like a multi-camera setup, and we did a really, really nice, really well curated interview, because I mean, it's the vice president of the United States. So like, know your audience, know what your goals are, and then decide what's right for you. The nice thing though about Facebook Live is obviously there's some ad money behind it. It lives forever, whereas Instagram right now is still, once it's off, it's off. But obviously, without really saying it, Facebook seems to be continually graduating to being a broadcasting platform. Like that's where I mean, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, like that's like where they're going for eventually.
I mean, you see news outlets using live really well, but as far as like brands and other maybe smaller companies, I feel like there could be a little bit of a challenge there to how to use it. Like maybe you could get some insight over here from Social Media Examiner. They use that Facebook Live pretty well. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you want to say something.
Yeah, so for us, it's obviously, it's the way to bring definitely new people in, because they're still getting alerts when you're doing anything live. So, what we said at Social Media Examiner, we have like 500,000 subscribers to our kind of weekly newsletter. We probably get close to 1 million people listening to our podcast, but we're still noticing that the growth of new people is coming from our live features that we're doing. We're not playing around so much with Instagram Live except for quick tips, but we noticed that we're just not getting the followers yet when we do that, so we still continue to do video with Instagram to do our tips.
Wow. Thanks for that contribution. Yeah, yeah, sure.
Giselle, you had mentioned that before your position at your company, you were a personal influencer. Do you still do that personally, or no?
Yeah, I still do it. I work a lot, so I don't get to do it as much. So I try on the weekends sometimes, then I'll get a little lazy because it's a lot of work, actually. Yeah. There's a lot of planning that you don't think happens, but yeah, I still do it, and I think the benefit, or the best benefit that I've gotten out of it, is working with different brands and kind of seeing their marketing strategies while working with influencers, and then also networking with influencers and kind of relating with them.
Awesome. We got another question.
So I just wanted to ask you guys, do you have a specific social strategy And what does that look like? And then what types of content management tools do you use?
In terms of like what kind of social strategy?
Like, are you working directly with marketing and kind of following that, like their marketing plan, or do you actually like lay out a social media strategy for Forever 21?
So we kind of, we work with marketing, but not as much. I'm actually more in the studio, so I interact with the models and things like that. But I work closely with the creative director to talk about like marketing strategy and social strategy. Our goals kind of depend, because we're such a huge company, it kind of just depends on what we're gearing towards next. An example I'll give you is we're trying to break into makeup and beauty and things like that, which is actually extremely difficult to do as a fashion brand and to get respect in that sense. So we're still garnering our audience into that. So the best way that our strategy right now is how do we convince beauty influencers that we're cool, and that would gain kind of the respect and the branding in terms of like beauty. So that's what we're working on right now.
Cool.
Go ahead.
So I work in advertising, and I work really closely with a team of strategists and creatives, and the strategy department is like super impressive because they are the smartest people I've ever met. But they come up with basically a year-long strategy, and then we break it up by month and brief our creative teams monthly, but they all encompass that overall year strategy in it. So, I mean, with social, yeah, you can plan it, but you also want to like be culturally relevant with the cultural moments in real time. So trying to figure out those moments ahead of time that make sense for your brand that maybe not every other brand is in, so you can have a louder voice at that time. I think just looking at a calendar and figuring out strategically what moments make the best sense for you guys as a brand is super important, because then that dictates your creative and how you make everything and roll it out. So just a little insight from what I see in my team.
Hopefully this will answer your question. You asked me about what platform, you didn't say what platform, what marketing, what was your second half of your question?
Like content management.
I've used Hootsuite, I've used Sprout, I've used Buffer. They all, a lot of them do. I think it's always like a personal like preference. And sometimes I just like scheduling Facebook in Facebook.
Yeah.
And then another tool if you're specifically trying to look ahead at like how something could look in your Instagram grid. There's something called UNUM. And there's people who really love that, because then you can kind of see like, how is this gonna look when I put this here, but I've got these photos, you're trying to attract a new person. I guess the best way to talk about marketing, or when you're working with an editorial team, a lot of times what works on the website or the headline that makes sense for the website doesn't make sense when you're going to go position it on Facebook, or it's not going to make sense for you to post it the exact same way, or you are close to it on Instagram. So when we get these larger month-long campaigns, we'd be sitting down and going, okay, well, this is the video that's on the site, but this needs to be 30 seconds, or we're gonna need an SRT file, or we're gonna need to chop this up, or we're gonna need to turn this into a GIF, or we're gonna need to try to make this into, an infographic, and really trying to, if you can, in an ideal world, you're there at the conception, you're able to implement some of your thoughts and feelings, thinking from the end, and sometimes you gotta work with what you have. For leading up to major campaign, like figuring out the calendar, figuring out what's not going to clog someone's feed, figuring out what makes sense, figuring out, what's our strongest piece, what do we think that people will be worth putting some money behind, what do we think will get the most shares, and also what are your goals. That I think informs what your strategy is more than anything. What are you trying to accomplish? That answer your question? Yes. Okay, good.
We have another question over here.
Quick, I actually have two questions. I'll see if you can address, pick whichever one you like. One, I represent directors and I'm trying to market them through social media. but you can't really showcase all their content like on an Instagram feed. What would you recommend when you have to like take your user from one platform and take them to another, like for video, for example? It's like you really need to engage them, gauge your customers here, but maybe you need to take them for long form content, you have to take them to another platform. And then another quick question, the Forever 21 speaker up there, I just thought about any good examples of how social media is being used at retail. So I do some retail consulting too. It's like where there's a confluence opportunity. Like for example, last week I saw a social media TV set in a store window, and they were providing a feed, like a Pinterest feed of content. I thought it was a pretty clever idea.
So we're actually revenue based. Our biggest KPI is revenue. We don't do the live feed thing in our stores because I think it's like a whole legal thing for us. But I'm sorry, what was your question again?
I'm just curious if you see anybody doing anything really super
smart where social meets the retail store. Like I gave the example of the Pinterest one. It was a good example of the brand showcasing how their customers are, wearing their product, but on TV, on a TV screen at a store.
What we actually did, we did a Snapchat contest for Justin Bieber, and it was to win something autographed by him, but we wanted you to get into the store to like look at his items and all these things. So we're like, okay, if you want this autographed item, you must lip sync a Justin Bieber song into our store. So that gets you in the store, that gets you looking at the clothes, that gets you shopping for Justin Bieber stuff. That's what you're into, and you're entering a contest. So that's how we kind of connected both of them.
Cool. I actually had a couple questions about Facebook specifically. So this came up in our growth hacking meeting last week, but are you guys leveraging Facebook in any like super creative ways? Just maybe to get the wheels spinning. Like the other day I came across a profile that was named Jennifer Beachbody. And it was obviously Beachbody's attempt to create a personal profile and do whatever, I don't know, connect with the community somehow as a person. So just wondering if any of you guys at any of your companies are leveraging Facebook in a way like that, where you're using a personal profile, or if you guys are doing anything interesting or unique within Facebook.
I personally try to avoid Facebook, so I will let someone else answer this question.
All right.
I think, and to piggyback off of that, I think the big question that I seem to be encountering when I talk to other people who are in social or other websites that maybe are content driven is, and maybe they're not ready to be focused on the resources to be focused on original video content and uploading and transforming and shifting from text and articles to video is, okay, this is where our biggest audience is, but we're not getting the reach we used to get because the algorithm changed, and now we're this. How do we actually pivot and start growing our audience somewhere else? How do we get off the drug that was Facebook that's no longer giving us the high that we wanted? And I think that correct me if I'm wrong, like that's kind of, the question everyone's kind of asking themselves is if you're looking at like what's something new and creative, it's because I think this is now a social media platform that's been around for almost 13 years and has, I think that it's okay, instead of, if it's not just pay to play, like what else can we be doing? And I think a lot of people are looking into other platforms and how do you create content for where those people are. If your audience isn't there, how do I meet them where they are?
Right on. So that kind of brings me to Instagram and Snapchat. I'd like to touch on that a little bit. So apparently Instagram and Snapchat are pretty similar right now. I don't use Snapchat. I just don't have time for it, so I don't really know. Maybe you could fill me in on what's going on with Snapchat. It looks like there's a new redesign that just came out. Does that help you search for people now, or what's the deal with that? Do you guys have any insights?
The redesign, I don't know.
Yeah.
I knew that was coming, but
I haven't been on this month. Okay. I can tell you on the 31st.
Crazy. I don't know.
Well, maybe what are some advantages like over that Instagram has over Snapchat and vice versa?
Well, I can't tell. I know we have a huge audience on Snapchat, but I can guarantee you we have a bigger audience on Instagram. And that itself is more powerful now that you can actually put stories onto Instagram. Those 12 million people get to watch it on that one channel. They're already looking at your images. So they don't need to go to another channel to look at what you're selling or what you're doing or what's cool. It's all in one place. Versus now Snapchat is kind of like, you want to see your friend taking a selfie or doing things like that. It's a cool channel to definitely do behind the scenes, but now that Instagram has incorporated that into their curated kind of situation, it's kind of losing its way.
Are you repurposing a lot of content from Instagram to Snapchat just to keep it alive, or?
Because Snapchat is more of, like, they can tell when you upload it. We do it actually the other way around. So we'll make content on Snapchat and then bring it into Instagram. And then the advantage that Instagram Stories has is that I can link product into each clip that I make.
You can tag people.
Yeah, and you can tag people. And so because I'm revenue based, it does so much more for me.
Is linking it to a product like something you have to get verified for, or it's not available to everyone, is it?
I think it's available for brands.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I've seen a few bloggers have it. So I think that they, like, Instagram knows who to give it to in a sense,
Right.
but yeah.
Cool. Matt, what about you? What do you think are some advantages that Instagram has over Snapchat or vice versa?
Definitely being able to tag people and mention them and direct people to people's accounts and brands' accounts from your stories. It's awesome. You can be having an in the moment, image or video and literally be like, this is what I'm wearing, this is who I'm with. And from there, you're linked to someone's account or a brand's account. I also think, like you were saying, like it's easier to upload stuff to Instagram to make it seem like it's more in the moment. Like if you do it on Snapchat, it has a white border around it and it's like uploaded from camera roll. If you upload something from your camera roll from Instagram, there's ways around doing it that make it seem like it's live, even though it was produced or done ahead of time or planned and curated. So there's more freedom with Instagram and it's more shareable.
Yeah, when Instagram Stories launched, I remember that the day that launched, I think it was like the day that I was like, well, I'll see you later. It wasn't like a conscious decision, it just kind of stopped. It was like, oh, I don't need to go here. I think that what I think will happen is, Snapchat obviously still has the market on really great AR. This time last year, their filters and augmented reality that seemed like, the amount that they can charge to have a custom filter for someone to basically wear your billboard and willingly wear your billboard was amazing. Like that, I wouldn't walk around with like a button to go see like the Avengers, but I would put it over my face and send it to my friend, And I think that the fact that they changed their name to Snap Inc., I think the fact that they really spectacle. I think the fact that they're constantly rolling out stuff. I don't think the Instagram Stories is going to keep them down for long. I have a feeling that whatever their goals are, it so supersedes just being a social sharing platform. I think that, didn't they even have like a patent where they were able to you were able to send money, you can send money through it. I mean, it's going to evolve into something else where that was their portal into it. I can't imagine they're going to sit around and be like second rate. And I think that what Giselle said is true, which is that as soon as brands were available and other people were able to really capitalize on being able to send links, the need and what you went to Snapchat for completely changed. It's a much more personal thing. There's something really interesting about the fact that on Snapchat, you can't see who else looked at that video. It feels completely intimate to you. And it makes you more inclined to message either a person that maybe you would have commented and felt comfortable commenting directly, or send somebody to a brand because you don't know how many other people entered that contest. There's something very, very interesting about that to me.
Are any of you guys using, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Musical.ly, I think you said it?
I think I'm too old to use that.
Yeah.
That's what, like karaoke.
I don't think I'm amazed by what kids can make on there, but I don't think I'll ever catch up to that curve. Do you guys use that?
It's insane. I mean, it's like Snapchat, Instagram, like filters. It has like almost every feature of every social media network. In
Yeah, I'm too old for it, but actually a lot of our audience are very into it.
Yeah.
So we don't work with Musical.ly specifically, but we like working with Musical.ly influencers. So
Right on.
that's our biggest thing right now.
Yeah, I've seen like a lot of people reach like 12 million followers and like numbers like that very quickly.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's coming in hot. I want to get on that. Cool. So you guys at 72 and Sunny and Forever 21 deal heavily with influencers. And you guys are both kind of influencers yourselves. So what are some of the major challenges that you face with influencer marketing right now?
I think direction in terms of like kind of guiding them as to what we want. You know, we could give them 20 different dresses, but if we don't tell them exactly how we want it curated. So now I'm sending examples of, hey, I really like your work, but can you do it this way? Do you plan on styling it this way? That and finding fresh new faces. I feel like a lot of them are being entitled to getting paid and things like that, which is great. I understand you have to make your money and, you know, do all that whole thing. But like, I think as a brand, don't look down to the people who have 6,000 followers, because those people they have such a genuine audience and they're creating content for you happily. Like they're passionate about your brand.
Matt?
I think the biggest struggle for us at 72 and with my client is timing. There are so many layers of approval and review that happens at an agency internally and with your client, and add another person in there who just wants to be creative. It's so hard to just like get them that feedback and then get revisions, and we want to post it in time. So the process can be really drawn out. We actually had an issue today. One of our influencers forgot to post her post over the weekend. So we're dealing with like, oh shit, like what do you do when you paid someone to do something on a certain day and they didn't do it? We're running into that for the first time. So, but overall, we've had a lot of really good success with our influencers. Their content performs better than all of our own content. It's just crazy how you can really expand your reach with someone who's super creative and let them do their own thing, and it's super successful. So.
Are there any platforms that you guys are using to identify influencers, or like any places that like the average Joe can just go and like plug in and like get influencers to share their content?
What do you mean? So places where you
like
can
I
find
found some
influencers to work
websites where
with?
you can like upload your content and other people will share it. So like you pay like $30, you upload some content, and you hope that other people will share it.
I don't know anything about that.
I know that we're building something like that for us alone, because, you know, we have so many people tagging us that we're not able to find influencers or cute pictures that way. So I know we're building something in-house to kind of get people, you know, you want to share your cute picture, send it to us directly to the site. Also, we have a hashtag F21XMe, which helps us find influencers too, because most of them are using it if they're wearing our brand.
Okay, awesome. And so are there any networks that you guys use to identify influencers, or are you literally just like combing through Instagram and all that
I do it
stuff?
the old school way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will spend a lot of hours doing that. But also we have this program called Curate that does it for us too. So they'll be like, so if I put, I want people who hashtag F21XMe with 2,000 followers to 1 million followers and posted recently within the last week, it'll show me that too, and like
Okay.
kind of their like Instagram bio. So
What's the name of that tool?
Curate.
Cool.
Yeah.
You ask a question? Oh, Curate?
Yeah. Curalat.
Yeah.
Another one that is just an overall social listening tool that I think is pretty great, and you can use it to find influencers, but it's a premium site, is BuzzSumo. And you can find people who's talked about your topic, depending on what you're looking for, and then kind of really dive in and go from there. But yeah, sometimes the old-fashioned way, if you really know your space, Janelle's been working in fashion forever, she understands, she knows what she's looking for, but maybe if you're trying to do something from scratch or have a very specific film that touches on such and such an issue, you want journalists or people who've written about that very specific issue. That was a really good one. It's also a good one to see that it's just you should take a tour through BuzzSumo if you never have, and just just take a little tour through there.
Awesome. We have a question over here.
Hi, this is for Erica. You said you work a lot with like social impact and a lot of different clients like that. I was just curious how you integrate maybe an older generation in this Instagram, like me, for example. I'm this is a little bit, I'm still learning Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. So how do you integrate, one, people to follow these social impact issues, and two, to take action on those issues, and then also how is that measured through the social media that you do?
Okay, so let me back up and make sure I understand your question. So you're asking, let me make sure I understand you correctly so I can try to answer.
So you work with a lot of different social impact, like Al Gore and all these different kinds of initiatives.
We may have like an action that we want somebody to take on site, like sign this petition or know about this issue or sign up for, I don't know if you guys ever use something called Thunderclap. Some people like it, some people don't, but which is a timed, you sign up to automatically have your Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr account tweet out a very specific message, with the intent of that being to amplify possibly a unique hashtag or cause or event that, instead of hoping everybody retweets it, well, if 1,000 people are now going to tweet at the exact same time, so it's automated, then maybe it'll get some traction. Sorry, to go back in terms of an older crowd, what do you consider to be?
Well, I mean, just, people who aren't really engaged in Snapchat and all these things.
Yeah.
Just how do you engage them with, are you linking it up to Facebook? Are you putting it more, or working more with these initiatives and doing it through their website and Facebook pages? Or how do you figure out what is the best way to kind of, because one thing is getting their name out there, but the other thing is the idea is you want these people to take action, whether it's to donate or get involved.
Right. We saw some real success. There's a guy named Rico Berry who is, I believe he's in the movie The Code, which Participant also helped produce. And he is a huge advocate of marine life, and also, as you can imagine, not pro SeaWorld. And he wanted to do a whole update of what was going on there, and he did an amazing Facebook Live. We partnered with him and their audience, so obviously he is an audience and on Facebook, and we had to go live on his page and then shared it immediately to our page with a link below or a link in the caption or something to an action they could immediately take. He spoke to it. We were able to give people like a valuable experience where here's what's going on, here's what you can do better right now. And also knowing that, so one, going directly to that audience, two, knowing that our audience on Facebook actually is older. The people who were clicking, or the people who looking through our demographics and our of who engaged with us on specific platforms, specific verticals, were actually older, somewhere between, I think possibly 40 and up. So, and then the ways that we were able to repurpose or talk about that conversation were quite different on Instagram, because we're dealing with a different audience. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it really comes from the beauty of dealing with social impact and those issues, is that when you get something that people care about, and people are, you hit them on an emotional level and they're having an emotional reaction, and you're giving them a solution right now. Here's what you can do right now to do something. Nothing feels better than to go like, okay, I did the thing. I can sign that thing right now. I can watch this video, I can share it, and you're able to hit people at a real gut level. I think that's really the goal. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So Giselle, actually, and was it Nancy? No. What are some problems that you guys are currently overcoming at with social at Forever 21, and what do you think you'll be focusing on for the rest of 2017?
So right now we're struggling with branding our beauty stuff and kind of just finding influencers. And we're not talking about million follower influencers because we have that. We don't need a bigger audience. We need is more content. So we're forever looking for more influencers to create more content for us and kind of just attract that 16-year-old who wants to know what that looks like on them. That and yeah, branding beauty, I think that nobody's used to that yet from us. And we just kind of want to make that more prominent into everything else. We want to be the one-stop shop for women to get everything at their stuff. We're also trying to incorporate like women or home stuff. So it's just kind of, you know, being able to bring that into Instagram. And of course, people are going to hate it at first. And they're going to be like, we've definitely had our trial and errors with makeup videos. Like, we don't like it. Like, no, that was lame. Like, that lip gloss was lame. And now they've gone to a point like, okay, yeah, let's buy that lip gloss. Like, tagging their friends, you know, but it was definitely a process for us. Also, like, kind of seeing that talking videos in beauty don't really work for us. So now we're just making sure there's no talking in our beauty videos on Instagram. But yeah, we just want to make that grow and kind of just finding more influencers.
Awesome. And Matt, what are you currently working on at 72, and what do you think your main focus is going to be for 2017?
So I work for a client named Tillamook, which is a dairy brand based in the Pacific Northwest. They have the best cheddar in the world and really, really good ice cream.
Really good ice cream.
And good yogurt and butter and sour cream. But so basically we're at this transition where we want to tell more of our farmer story because it's a farmer-owned brand. So leaning into the fact that these people are the owners of the brand, they're the ones putting their work into the brand. So for us, it's like, how do we authentically tell a farmer's story on social media when we're in LA, we're the creatives, but they're based in Oregon. So location is like a huge issue, and production, organizing is like another thing that we're going through right now too. So, but it's super cool. It's exciting because it's aligning with our larger campaign narrative, all of our commercials that are going out. So it should be reflected in our social, and it's a cool message that's resonating with a lot of people. So.
Awesome. Do you have any like new exciting news that's on the horizon that you can share with us, or?
We have, well, we actually just came out with a new yogurt and everyone hates it. So it's not that exciting, but it's funny, like getting that backlash that you're seeing too. Like we came out with a new yogurt and we were tasked with creating social content to promote it. And everyone on Facebook was like, this is disgusting. I used to love your brand. It's the low fat yogurt. Basically, so all of our fans were saying, we want less sugar. You have too much sugar in your product. Give us more protein. So we did exactly that, took the sugar out, added more protein, and now people are like grossed out by it. So navigating that is super interesting because we still need to promote it somehow, but we're avoiding where it's like delicious and yummy, and just more so like updating them that we've updated our recipe per your request.
Right on. Cool. And Erica, what are you currently focusing most of your time on right now? And what do you see like accomplishing in the next year?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So right now, obviously, you know, I think I kind of mapped out what some of my current goals are in terms of the makeup blogger is just really targeting who is the ideal reader, who are we going after, and how do we allow this brand, this website to slowly evolve. And also, you know, lend my services to anybody who just wants to, even if just sit down and brainstorm. And then the other thing I see happening this year, the last few weeks of not waking up and immediately checking my Instagram feed, and then my Twitter feed, and then my Facebook feed, and then looping again, and then looping again, and then getting out of bed. I actually am probably gonna be teaching in the next couple months. I'll be teaching a workshop as to how to create your own guidelines and how do you rein in your social use, because it's my well-being has gone up, my creativity has gone up, and the amount of time I spend with other people face-to-face has gone up. Like, it's improved my life tenfold without the sacrifice. Like, if I can do it and I work in social media, anyone can do it. So.
Very cool. At this point, I want to open it up to questions from the audience. I know we have one over here.
Giselle. So Forever 21, are they in markets other than the United States?
Do they have markets outside of the United
You
States?
have stores outside the United
Yeah.
States. So is your demographic and your approach in other countries the same as it is in the US?
Pretty much. It's pretty streamlined in that sense. I know that we have different items that are being sold, so we do have that conflict between like seasons and stuff like that. But we have agencies that actually take care of social media for that whole international situation. So I know we'll have like Facebook, Brazil or something like,
Yeah.
so we have an agency in Brazil that takes care of that for us. So the only thing that we need to provide them is the content and the copy.
So you mentioned, I mean, your strategy is interesting, but you mentioned that you were seeking out 15-year-old influencers, you know, with relatively smaller followings.
Yeah.
And you think the 15-year-old influencer in the US is the same as the 15-year-old influencer in Europe?
I mean, we work with influencers in Europe too. So we kind of try to garner into our audiences like internationally, but that's our international marketing team that I work with. I would like to say that they're very different, and they're not, because Instagram makes it feel like I follow personally someone from Brazil or someone from Europe. So in a sense, you're still kind of following your own style and aesthetic. It doesn't really matter where you're from at this point.
Cool. We have another question back here.
Yeah, that's for Giselle. So I work with influencers as well. And you mentioned you guys do Musical.ly influencers. Have you got any flack from the platform itself? Because I know they're pushing you to do like only through platform ads. Are you using certain hashtags to identify yourself, or how you
So we don't use Musical.ly. We just have influencers from Musical.ly reach out to us. So that's how we're working with that.
And they're not posting on the app though?
No.
Got it.
So it's more of they have grown their like Instagram profile as well and things like that. They just have a really good following. So if we were to work with someone from Musical.ly, people are able to identify them.
Yeah, I noticed personally that a lot of people on Musical.ly have big followings, like list their Musical.ly on their Instagram. Like, it's very important for them to have them connected.
Hi, this is for Erica, but it could kind of open up to anybody. I'm thinking of Twitter and how Vine has recently closed, and then I hear nothing about Periscope anymore since Facebook Live has taken off. What has happened to Twitter? Why is that just not working in the not Twitter necessarily, but like the video part of it?
I read an article, it was in Tube Filter a couple weeks ago that was like, it's something to the effect of like, is this Twitter thing why is Twitter still a thing? I think was the, look, what do you use Twitter for? What is it the biggest resource for? Like, I look at it for myself. When do I feel compelled to use it? I feel compelled to use it.
Earthquakes.
Wake up in the middle of the night, heard something weird going. I thought I heard like a helicopter overhead, and I'm like, I checked WeHo Daily. I'm like, is something going on in my neighborhood? It's earthquakes. You're watching the Super Bowl. Are you going to be on Facebook? Are you going to be on Instagram? You're probably still going to be on Twitter. Uber, my Uber ride made me miss my flight Now I'm stuck at LAX for 5 hours, which is actually something that happened to me. And Uber support is not reaching out to me. What's my first thought? Going to go to Twitter, and I'm going to try and hit customer support. So I think that what is going to survive and evolve from that. And again, look, this time last year, did any of us think that Instagram was going to come out with Instagram stories? No. Could I even fathom that they were going to shut down Vine? Maybe, but do we really know what they're about to do? No. I think what might continue to propel that is that it's still the place that we decide to go for a source of like news. I think that, you know, a lot of journalists and the news community still uses that. I think customer service still, for some reason, seems to be really, really support there, and also live broadcast. You know, they did Golden Globes. It's still where we all kind of sit on the same large couch and talk to each other during televised events. So I think that will continue in that sense. Everything else, I don't know. I turn that over to the rest of the panel.
Yeah, are you guys making Twitter work at all in terms of driver traffic or building awareness?
I know we use Twitter, but I know it's something we like joke over there. We're like, oh, you know, people are still on it. Like, you know, we don't really focus. We mostly focus on Instagram, Snapchat, and kind of Facebook.
I think for like social holidays and like trending topics, we use Twitter for that. So like National Cheese Lovers Day was a real holiday. And we made a bunch of content specific for Twitter and for that hashtag to gain traction. Unfortunately, the inauguration was the same day, so we were kind of overshadowed by other trending topics, but yeah, I think it's a good place for those kinds of fun, weird social holidays that aren't real holidays.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Sorry, real quick. What platform are you guys putting the most paid media behind?
For Tillamook, it's Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. We do paid on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, but Facebook and Instagram are the most.
I don't take care of the paid marketing, but I believe it's effectively doing well on Facebook and Instagram.
For Giselle, I know you guys do those campaigns like on Snapchat. How do you guys, first off, like handle or produce those campaigns with all like the strict parameters with Snapchat? And then like, how do you go through like the submissions? You know, like if it gets deleted right away, like how are you dealing with that much submissions and going through it with all the strict parameters that like Snapchat has?
For like our contest?
Yeah, for your contest or any kind of like campaigns that you're doing for Snapchat on that platform. So like you have to do it live. Like you said, if it's uploaded, it looks different. So how do you maintain that kind of content cheaply? And then at the same time, when you did those contests, how do you go through that many submissions?
We screenshot it. So we do it the whole old school way. Like we screenshot it. We ask specific things from them. So we'll ask them in their entries to just kind of put their email and their name and things like that, so we can contact them after. But we have a social team, so we'll watch them. We'll give them like a day or a date, and then we open our submissions, because if we don't, then we'll just get all these crazy Snapchats all the time. But that's how we kind of do it. We just do it the old school way, and then we just kind of judge it. But in terms of campaigns and stuff, we try to make it more organic. So let's say we just did an activewear campaign and like our model and stuff like that. What we do is we kind of have our audience comfortable with the schedule of Tuesday that there's stylist picks, and then Thursdays there's model takeover. So Tuesday we'll do something with activewear, and then we'll tell you how to style it. And we'll either do a flat lay or we'll use the model and things like that. And then I kind of look at it by the screenshots. That's how I can kind of tell what they're into and like what they like. And then if I feel like not enough people are watching it, I'll make an Instagram post, whether it's a boomerang or a flat lay, and be like, hey, have you watched our stylist picks? Here's 5 ways to style, you know, a jacket or whatever is in season at that time.
So when you say you're doing those takeovers, just real quick, are they getting the account handle, or you're just going to them and then giving them the phone that has the account on it? Like, how are they taking over the account?
Both. So I will let them sign into our account. We give them guidelines and things like that. I'm forever monitoring what they're doing. So yeah, we just let them go in. We want it to be very authentic. So we don't tell them, hey, like, you know, do what you feel and make it your own, pretty much. Because then if we make sure it's too curated, then it's not authentic. If they don't want to see this takeover, it's no longer a takeover.
We have another question over here.
I was wondering about how you decide between content between Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I guess Snapchat and many others. Like, is it all the same and similar? Just Twitter's shorter and Facebook's longer, and Instagram is like in between, or just identical to Facebook, or like how you differentiate. And of course, like Twitter is more like in the moment, active, or like you were saying, like trends of National Cheese Day is very applicable. But like just day to day, if it's not like a national day, like how do you keep all of the channels active? And does it feel inauthentic when all of them are mirroring each other, or is that totally fine?
I think it's totally fine if they're mirroring each other, but it definitely gets garnered to, each audience is very different. So what works for Facebook does not work for Instagram. Like I could give you the example about our beauty videos. We don't do talking on Instagram because nobody cares. Nobody even listens to the volume. They just want to see a quick tutorial in 30 seconds and they're like, okay, cool, I like it. I want to shop it now. Facebook is more informative, so they want to see you talking, they want to see you more involved, they want you to talk to them about the product and things like that. Twitter is fast, so they just want an image of a girl with makeup and they're like, okay, cool, this is the brand, like, blah, blah, shop it here. So each channel for us we use it differently for the same thing.
Yeah, we have different channel-specific strategies. So for Facebook, that's where we have a lot of conversion-driving ad units. We'll do a lot of dark posts that are just targeted to specific people to get them to click to the where to buy link to see where they can get our product. For Instagram, we use it more so for inspirational and aspirational images to get people just like thinking about it. And so we put our beautiful stuff there. And then for Twitter, it's more conversation based and trying to get into those trending conversations and get our brand where people are talking. So it's different for everyone.
And I think it's important to remember that, when they said that every audience is different, just because someone follows you on Twitter doesn't mean they're going to follow you on Instagram. Just because they follow you on Instagram doesn't mean they're going to like you on Facebook. So even though you may have posted something and positioned it slightly different in each way, for each platform, no one's did all three. Oh my! And just because you post on the same day doesn't mean the algorithm's necessarily going to serve it to them. They might not even get it. They might not, or they might get it 2 days later. It's all kind of that's more for you. And I think that you might. It's always so fascinating to me to find that like something you thought was going to do really well on Twitter, like nobody liked it. You're just like, why? I don't know, because people aren't robots and they don't always respond exactly the way you think they're going to respond. That's what's so interesting about social media is like you're always learning something, you're always like turning and changing and tweaking and modifying. And what worked 6 months ago isn't working now, and now you got to figure out something else.
Awesome. Good, cool. So that's actually all the time we have for the panel tonight, but I would encourage you guys to hang out and mingle and talk, be more people. So let's give a round of applause for our panelists. Awesome.